Welcome, Slayers of Giants, to Tilting at Windmills.
I am Chrys Gorman, the Executive Marketing Director at NotAPipePublishing.
And I'm Benjamin Gorman, publisher at NotAPipePublishing, and we are here today with RJ Huneke. RJ Huneke is a proud autistic author and an explorer who traveled across the U.S. from New York to California at age 19 in a dilapidated van with no brakes or heat in the winter and began to write his first novel. His newest book is a fantasy titled Ants Waking, along with a bevy of other creative projects. He's the founder of the Forgotten Fiction magazine and a contributor to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association. He lives with his wife, their daughter, a spotted dog, and an unspotted cat in Portugal and at times New York. Welcome, RJ. Very glad to have you here today.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chrys and Benjamin. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell everybody about the novella. I'm excited about hearing about this.
Well, it's this is one of the most probably personal things that I've written. It's a fantasy novella, but in my writing, especially, I just finished writing my 11th novel. So in my novels, one thing I've tried to do to capture the attention span is to make these thrilling. I've written thrillers, but I really love speculative fiction, in particular fantasy and sci-fi. So this is really a thrilling, visceral, magical realism tale. For fans of Alex E. Harrow, especially the book The 10,000 Doors of January, that was a direct influence on this. I read that book. I hadn't read her, and it blew my mind and thoroughly, forever changed my style, I think, with regards to fantasy. But I'm a big fan of classics.
Either, so now I'm
Sorry,
excited.
go ahead.
I've not read her either, so I'm excited to add that to
Oh my goodness. I mean, she's a best-selling and award-winning author, but not one that I just don't hear her name a lot, even now that I know it. But now I'm going to read everything that she's written, and I don't do that for too many, because then I would, I'd have an endless TBR more than I do now. But no, it's
when I first read N.K. Jemisin, I was like, I must devour every single thing she has ever written.
100%, 100%, yes. Alex E.
Who is it? Alif?
Oh, yes. What is her name?
I can never, and I'm so
Turkish author. She just read, two of hers, and you're what on the
yeah. I read one, and then I immediately went and bought 4 more.
Yeah,
it was so good.
So what is Ants Waking about? What's the without spoiling?
Sure. So it's kind of I'd say a modern fairy tale. I love noir, so it's kind of a bit of, you can mash up Edgar Allan Poe and Mickey Spillane for a fairy tale noir feel. And it's about an autistic trans college freshman turned story warrior. Erica trudges the magical city's snowy cobblestoned labyrinth full of street lamp fairies and meddling gods in the hopes of finding the Legioness at the city's heart before the onset of the dark conquers the day, and with it the only chance of redeeming tragedy. So it's really a I love to smash genres, really destroy them. So I had a professor who was like, these genres are ridiculous, write what you want and call it speculative fiction, and just, so the magical realism comes into play because it is written as if it's a real fairy tale taking place in a fantastical Cambridge, Massachusetts. But it's also a mashup of coming of age. It's a little bit more, I think, than YA, but it's definitely got, that college freshman coming of age to it, search for identity. And it's very much a book about dealing with grief, because in the very first sentence you hear, I'll just say the first sentence, I survived, Dan had not. And as I wiped the tears with my sleeve, I ran to the city. Yeah. So immediately there's a loss. Immediately we're going to a city that's going to be an important character, and I love to have settings as characters in books, and this one's no different. So yeah, it's a fun kind of mashup of genres, and I also try to do things that are different, that really focus on getting something that I haven't read before. Even though I draw from lots of influences, and in this, I especially draw on a lot of myth, a lot of mythology. And then for some of it, I just kind of had to make new old mythology, make up my own old mythology, which, of course, as I'm sure you can relate, is a lot of fun
Oh yeah.
for us, for readers and writers. It's when I came to Portugal, moved to Portugal to spend, to be living here as a primary residence about a year ago, and had visited a bunch in the year or so before. There's a lot of oral tradition here, but not a lot of writing for myth in the Iberian Peninsula. So I had to really dig deep to just kind of get what I could, and that gave me some bones of some fun and interesting gods and characters and myths that I used in here as well. But I reach out to uh, some oh, I'm losing my train of thought, but
Yeah, I have been
but I really hit on a lot of
into
myth.
kind
Yeah,
of because the folklore of the Iberian Peninsula, like I'm very aware of, the folklore of the British Isles, Greek mythology, which, then is translated into Roman and through
sure,
Italian,
sure,
and then Catholicism, becomes something that we're all kind of taught. But the, some of the Celtic, stuff is very, very distinct, and of course the Norse is very distinct and is really interesting. But we don't hear much about the Iberian, so that's been something I've been doing some research into too. Is how can I, bring more of this into my own work. I've been reading about anjanas and duendes. So there are characters here that are really interesting, and so that has been fun. I enjoy that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, you're doing something really cool, off the page through this book, and that's fits very well with what we stand for as a show and as a company. So tell everybody about the charities that you are aiming to contribute to through the sales of this book.
sure, sure. Thank you, Benjamin. I mean, I wanted to say this earlier, but I'm a big fan of the show, and in part, because of your very positive message, and I love just watching the show and hearing you guys and your thoughts, and with other authors. With Ants Waking, the story had to have a trans protagonist. It had to have a neurodivergent protagonist. Um, that's just the only way that it works. I'm a pantser, not a plotter, so I improvise everything, but I love the Stephen King analogy of kind of give birth to these characters and then let them walk around and make up the story as they're going along. So, but there was very little choice in the matter as to those things. And I've been a trans ally for a long time, and then in recent years, one of my closest family is trans, and I would die for them. I take a bullet for them. So that kind of got me inspired, especially with the rise in fascism worldwide, and using the old fascist and Hitler Goebbels playbook of
Yes.
scapegoating, some of the most peaceful but marginalized peoples,
And one of the
so
smallest populations.
Yeah.
You go after
yeah,
a group
yeah,
that's
and it's just
1% of the
that, if
population.
you can convince your citizens that, oh, they're not important, then it's easier to then escalate. And so I got very angry and very inspired, and there are two organizations that are near and dear to my heart. Um, the first is the Autistic Self Advocacy Network, ASAN. They are what they do worldwide is so very important because they're autistic led. Um, when you have an era of Dr. RFK Jr.,
Right.
for example,
Ugh, yeah.
um, and you guys, spoke to our Tylenol overdosing, I think, in your last episode, which was fun. But you know, we as autistic people, we need to be among those making policies that help us live our lives.
Yeah.
And we need to be a part of helping to teach people how to be understanding and supportive of the autistic community. So I have autism, diagnosed with autism. I'm diagnosed with very severe ADHD as well, which is a fun conflict of, oh, hey, Chris, all
Yep,
right,
you're in good company.
yes, absolutely. Something like ASAN helps shout out to the world things that are so important, such as autism cannot be cured. It cannot be cured. This is a developmental disability. It's centered on a diverse way that the brain operates, and it affects the way that we learn, move, communicate. But instead of trying to change disabled people, we should be working to make sure people with disabilities can access what they need. You
Yes.
know, it's that, and that's ASN's, really what they're all about.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to even get beyond the idea that it ought to be cured.
Yeah.
Yep.
Society needs to be arranged to
So
make
I
room
feel like
for
that's
diverse people.
we'll cure the gay, right?
Right,
this is
right.
But you know,
one of my biggest, I mean, Ben knows my soapbox when I talk about ADHD and autism is that we are judged for how we exist in a world that was created by neurotypical people.
For
yes.
For
neurotypical.
neuro, but I don't want to get because I want to give you a chance to talk about the other nonprofit. But I just read an article yesterday that I haven't had a chance to talk to Ben about that
Oh
I got
wow.
really excited about. I just read an article. There's an institute that did a DNA, a chromosomal study on DNA from like, and I'm gonna butcher. I'm not sure the correct term because like in the thing it said uh, pre-Neanderthal man
Hmm. Yeah,
or one of the two. So it was
like early hominid.
early,
Sure, sure.
early. And they did DNA sequencing and they found similar genes that like the same genes in that, prehistoric DNA that they find in people currently that have been diagnosed with autism.
Oh, sure.
Oh
And
wow.
so now they are
Wow.
working on a further study using other anecdata they have from the villages that they've been looking at to actually, and so their supposition is that they can track that autism was something that was, it's not a genetic flaw.
Yeah.
It's something that was an intentional human what's the word I'm looking
Evolutionary benefit.
an
Sure,
evolutionary
sure.
benefit for a specific reason within a group of humans that at the time you were still a small group and you each had to play your own role, which I thought I was like, thank you. I've been saying
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
this fits with you've been saying this for,
I'm
forever.
I've been
It's
saying it.
beneficial.
I've been saying it. Well, and I've been saying it for years. I tease Ben because he's not diagnosed with ADHD, but there's my therapist
On the
says you're
spectrum, I'm
you're
sure.
spicy enough that he likes my
Yes.
spicy, and I was like, he would have been the one because his uncanny sense of directions to say, yeah, we're out of food and water here, follow me, and I'm the one that they're like, test that berry and see if it'll kill you. Climb that tree and see if it'll hold you. And I'm like, that
You
was
would Nobody would have to say
it's
that
my
to you. You would
ancestors
just
did.
test it on your.
That was my ancestors' purpose.
Yeah.
And here we are. And so I love that the medical community and the scientific community is finally starting to study.
I,
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's amazing, and I'm delighted to hear that because I've just kind of felt in my bones that autistic people, neurodivergent people have always been here.
Oh yeah.
And it's very clear. There's a number of articles where people are post you know, Albert Einstein's life,
Yeah.
diagnosing him likely,
oh, absolutely.
almost certainly neurodivergent, very
Like
possibly autistic.
you can
Um,
go back so
yeah.
far.
Well, one of my favorite kind of takes recently has been, it is very, very clear that vaccines do not cause autism, but there are so many autistic people in the sciences that it's possible that autistic people cause vaccines.
Yes, very, very possible. Oh, that's
We are
awesome.
alive because autistic people did the science to keep us here. So, like let's flip that script a
I'm
little bit.
I'm a
100%.
big I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of dark humor. That's how I've coped with it. I'm sure being a neurodivergent person growing up in the system that we currently have in the US, you experienced your own little sprinkle of trauma throughout childhood. Um,
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
common. And so I've turned to dark humor too. And I know I shouldn't make the joke, but I still make my favorite autism joke is that if there were so many if there were so many autistic people and autism was such a problem, the United States would have a much better trade system.
Yes. Oh yeah.
High speed
Oh
rail.
yeah.
And I'm like, I know why, I know why I shouldn't make that joke. I know where the stereotype of trains comes from, and I know why we don't use Asperger's and all that, but it still just makes me cackle.
Yep, yep. No,
Oh, 100. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's much as it's like Sheldon Cooper.
Uh-huh.
I find it hilarious. I realize, and in part, I think it's almost satiric. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
stereotypical, but I no, I enjoy
Coming
that.
from inside, we can
Yeah.
laugh
Yeah.
at the
Sure.
absurdities of what
Right.
neurotypical people,
And
yeah,
don't we need to? I mean, we need
yeah,
to.
yeah,
We need to have that
yeah,
laugh. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
so what's the
absolutely.
tell
Sorry,
everybody
I
about
got
no,
you.
no, that's this
I
this is
it's
good.
fine. I was telling
So a portion of the proceeds is going to go to that group, and then a portion of the proceeds is going to go to another group as well.
yeah, so I'm donating almost 50% of the royalties, and half is going to ASAN. And I should have stuck with one because it would have been easier for me to manage, but I really had my heart in this. So the other is an organization called the Global Action for Trans Equality, GATE. And GATE is it is such a cool organization because they do things at the global level, they work with the UN, but the roots of it are about community and building community benefits and community groups of members of trans and gender diverse people all over the world. And that is so sorely needed to especially for healthcare, so it's so sorely needed, and they formed in 2009, and they said because of the widespread violence and discrimination faced by trans and gender diverse people, we have to form this. And GATE is a global voice for trans rights, working at the highest levels of policy, rooted in community, fights for human rights, access to healthcare, and the sustainability of trans-led movements. So this is, and it's a trans-led organization. So this is absolutely vital for many of the same reasons that I was speaking to before, as far as with propaganda and things being said by those that are not trans, that are legislating for trans people. Trans humans have been around as long as humans have been around. In fact, if you actually look statistically, you couldn't find a more peaceful
Right.
group of people that really just want to exist. So it's it continues to baffle me. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. A brilliant author that Dr. Brandy Scalesi wrote a book recently about the first trans health clinic, which was in Germany in the 30s
Mm.
and was the first target of the Nazis. That was those documents were burned and helped start, not help start, but that was part of where the book burnings and things, they got involved in burning papers. They went wild there. um, it's I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's the empathy talking. I find it very baffling, um, but it's commonplace, the derision. And so something like Gate is helping trans people to advocate for themselves, to organize for themselves, and trans and gender diverse people are now able to have a voice, and you know start to get care that is needed. And I, it's there it's Gate is absolutely inspiring to me. um, as is the trans people that I know. And you know, it's just very vital, very vital. So
Mhm.
I am working closely with them, and I'm working to teach at a um, workshop level writers that are trans and gender diverse. And if I can give them some bits of some tips and things to help boost their storytelling. And because we need more fun and diverse storytellers.
Well, now
I
you know some
it's
publishers who are always looking to
Hmm.
increase the representation. So you can tell your students, hey, I know a guy,
And
you
if
know?
you ever need some help,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid that this podcast could just go right off the rails because
No.
you are Ben knows how I get when I get like super engaged and I'm like this could be a problem. So I'm
Yeah.
trying really hard not to be like let's just have a conversation.
No, no, no. That's what we're here for.
My
Go ahead.
sorry. I mean obviously two things that are dear to my heart and the soapboxes that I'm most likely to get on is advocating for neurodivergent children and adults, but having been a neurodivergent child myself, maybe an adult, not sure yet.
Yeah,
Um,
well, whether you're not asking whether or not you're neurodivergent, you're asking whether or not you're an adult. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
different.
I'm not an adult, so
You're a
I'm yeah,
I'm an
you don't
adult,
have
but
to be.
I'm an adult, but I still need adultier supervision. So to make sure that I eat
Eat food,
and
sleep, yeah.
sleep and drink water. But I spent so much of my life hiding that now being somebody that can show other neurodivergent children that they are valid, they are worthy. No, do tell me about your favorite dinosaur. Don't, I hate one of the things the one of my biggest pet peeves is when parents say, "No, no, 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 they don't want to hear about that. I'm so sorry." Don't apologize to me because your child is excited about something. Do
Yeah.
not take that light away. The world is going to bully the crap out of them. Your parents should not be the one that does it first.
Yeah.
Nope.
And then I have my kid. So in middle school, my daughter at the time transitioned and came out as a trans man in middle school right before high school. And so we navigated high school in Oregon in our small town and we were really lucky. The school was pretty great. And then has
That's cool.
so that experience and needing to learn more about what resources and what validation and what they needed and the healthcare system and everything around that. And again, we were incredibly lucky because the healthcare system in Oregon was set up to allow gender affirming surgeries. But then as an adult navigating, I am so hesitant to use the word detransitioning
I
because
just say identifies as non-binary. I think
yeah,
that's,
Sure.
yeah,
that is who they are.
yeah.
They're not
But there's
detransitioned.
but there's still an aspect of that. But
Right.
Republicans have used that as a gotcha. Why would we let high school kids make a choice about surgery or hormone therapy for their bodies when they're going to get older and they're going to decide? We're talking about an infinitesimal. My kid has always been pretty special, so group of trans people that go through that. So now they are non-binary, but also go, she, they. So they definitely appear more female presenting. So it's been, navigating that. And even in that aspect, the Spanish government versus the US
Oh yeah.
government.
They've been very
Yeah.
tolerant here, very accepting.
If we hadn't left the US when we did, Frankie's passport would have been invalid to fly out
Yeah.
because they had an
Yeah,
X on it.
that's
We get over here and when we went to apply for our visas here, the lawyer was like, "Well, Spain doesn't really do an X, but I can ask." And she
And then,
just kind of went, "They want an X," and the government was like, "Okay,
okay. You
here's an
know?
great.
X." Like,
That's the right,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the right reaction. Yeah.
I was Well, we'll come back to it because otherwise I would go off on my own
I
rant,
know.
and
We all have our
that's
own
fine. But
crystal
no,
rambles.
you wanted to get to ask a question, so
Did.
I will let
I
you
did.
go. I will let you take it.
I finally got somebody I can ask. This is my favorite question. This is the question that I love, which of course it is. Um, what is the most dangerous animal that you would be willing to risk your life to pet?
The most dangerous animal is it brings like a whole bunch of things to my head. So the first thing that I would love to pet that would probably rip my arm off is a hippopotamus. I believe they cause the most deaths out of mammals on the planet.
It's just a little water puppy, though.
Oh, it's so, oh, I know. And I mean, it's almost like they're always smiling, you know? I mean, they're happy
Yeah.
and I absolutely adore cats, and I spent most of my life never having a cat, and then once my wife and I started dating, we moved in together. Then it was like, oh, she's like, oh no, we're getting a cat. I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, I love animals in general, but I love cats. Now, having just sat and stared at a tiger on the other side of a sanctuary, glass, like up close. I mean, these are just big kitties. So they, again, if they're hungry, maybe I won't come back, but I would totally cuddle with a tiger. Tarantula, as a kid, I wanted a tarantula. My parents opted for an iguana instead, which I love the iguana, but I would totally pet and have fun with a tarantula. Scorpion either. Bugs don't really bother me. So scorpion's kind of like, well, I hope it doesn't, nick me. Orcas, absolutely love orcas, and it's one of my daughter's favorite things. So that again, they're very vicious. But I would love to pet an orca.
But I've,
And then, of course, what comes to mind is a human. You
uh,
know, they are the most dangerous animal of all. So
yeah,
Yeah, true.
that's true.
It's a fact.
I do pet you
Yeah, I
sometimes.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought orcas were generally not aggressive towards humans,
Well,
though.
yeah,
you
we're just not
usually
their food.
know, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not because they're not vicious animals. That's because we're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
their
yeah.
food. Like they are wolves of the sea. Like they,
And
yeah,
hunt in packs. They're incredibly aggressive and dangerous, but not to us because we're not what they're after.
unless you're in a yacht,
extremely
which I'm a
intelligent.
big
So
fan of.
Yeah, and incredibly intelligent. Yeah, but yeah, if you're a seal, orcas are not friendly.
or a yacht or a yacht.
Yes.
They're so intelligent, they've gotten onto their
I'm a big fan of that,
microplastic
though.
polluted waters and they are
Yeah.
not happy. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
applaud the organization of the orcas.
Oh yeah, we are. Well, our the volume one of the Antifa Journal had this wonderful story by Rachel A. Rosen that was from the perspective, alternating perspectives of two orcas, and their kind of growing love affair relationship as they are, fight attacking yachts, and then a woman who is a cleaning person on this billionaire's yacht and is being incredibly mistreated until the orcas kind of save the day. And it is it's a wonderful story. Everybody should check that out. But yes, we're big
That's
fans of the
awesome.
orcas taking down the billionaires.
The
That's
story is so good and the title is so good that the moment I saw the title, I turned to Ben and I was like, that has to be the title of the
the
book.
title of the book is "What If We Kissed While Sinking a Billionaire's Yacht."
I was like, that's gotta be it.
So
That's gotta
great.
be it.
Yes. Uh,
See, and my animal, hands down, would be a polar bear.
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
pet a polar bear.
Which, and again, polar bears, yeah,
Would,
that
yeah,
Yes, yeah, they're
it would
absolutely.
not go well for you.
No, but that 3 seconds,
Yeah. I
that
mean,
3 seconds would be worth it.
we are one of our dogs is only 7/8 dog. It is an eighth wolf, which a
oh
lot of
cool.
people would go, you have a pet wolf. Yeah, absolutely. I will pet a pet wolf. A pet wolf sleeps on my feet at night, so I can't be too judgy about your desire to pet a polar bear. But yeah, ugh.
Well,
Um,
they look soft and fluffy and
yeah.
Did you read his Dark Materials?
Oh yes, absolutely.
So
I
yeah,
love that.
definitely
And
I
he is now
haven't.
writing the frame ones, and I have not read the most recent. So he's written a trilogy, or it might be a quadrilogy that's around his Dark Materials. And I read the first two before and the one after, and oh, I love that series so
I
much.
yeah, I haven't read the new series yet,
Yeah.
so I'm very much looking forward. I'm
No,
like, I
no
need to
spoilers, but they're
set
really
aside time.
And I have neither read nor watched.
Don't watch. They made they made an HBO series which is very good. They made a
Yes.
film and the movie's not
No.
bad, but they try and compress, you know,
Yeah.
what should take, there's no way to do that in 2 hours. And
Yeah.
so,
It should be 12 hours or what
right.
more, or,
But
yeah.
yeah, those are well, and they're marvelous because they are very consciously anti. It's the inversion of Narnia.
Mm.
Yes.
What
Yes.
if we make a kind of a justification for, hey, maybe the priest class is not doesn't have our interests at heart, and maybe there's more to the universe than what kind of the powers that be want us to believe. And so it's wonderful. Check out his
And Chris, armored polar bear talking friend,
yeah.
they're, you know,
What's the
that checks all the boxes.
what's the doesn't the Golden Compass
That's
have?
the first book in this series.
Oh, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So yeah, read the books. So much
I've
better.
seen that.
Read the books. They're so good.
But there's also that what was that Chris Evans Christmas movie
That had the polar
that
bear.
had the big polar bear?
I know what you're
Wasn't it
talking
The Rock
about.
that did that voice?
No, but The Rock was in a moon with Chris Evans, but that
Chris
wasn't.
Evans did like a Christmas movie.
Yes, I saw it. I saw it.
Yeah, there's the giant polar bear, right? I
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
movie. I found that movie entirely forgettable. I'm like, oh yeah, I did see that.
no kidding.
Yeah, it's
That's the one that I
not one of
dragged you
his
guys to
best.
the movie theater to watch
Yes,
it.
yes. So what's something you used to believe that you no longer believe?
Well, and this is going to pain some friends and family of mine watching this, but I used to believe that I would witness the New York Mets win the championship, the baseball championship. If I say World Series here, there's a lot of my Portuguese friends get very upset, but the championship in my lifetime. I no longer think that's going to happen. I think the team is cursed. I saw it this year, and
So, do
yeah,
you think with free agency there could be an entire overhaul in a decade, or is this, I mean, does it feel like it's a curse?
they just did the overhaul the last 2 years, and last year they were very close, but not quite there. And this
Yeah.
year, every other week, another pitcher, his arm fell off, and somebody else lost a foot, and it just went on and on.
Yeah. So it's just so yeah, I mean that's so hard when you watch the retooling and you're going, I know this is going to take years. And then it doesn't, I mean, I say this as a Portland Trailblazers fan who we've
Mhm.
gone through the retooling and then you get to almost there and you get to, midway through the quarterfinals is as far as you can go. And yeah, it is quite painful.
See, I'm not a sports fan. I know very little about sports, but I'm curious. If the Mets are cursed, what did they do?
What did they do? What
What
did
did
they
they
do?
do?
So this would be, there would have to be some scholarly studies into this, but my initial thought is that even though it was delayed, because the Mets won it all twice in 1969 and 1986, um, the Mets traded Nolan Ryan, arguably the greatest pitcher of all time, uh, because they thought he threw too hard. It's like the most ridiculous reason to, I mean, it's similar to when the Red Sox traded Babe Ruth because they needed it. The owner needed a little more cash, and little did they know,
Seems
um, and that cursed the Red Sox for about 100 years. So my lifetime, the Mets trade Nolan Ryan about 1970. I'm not feeling too good about it anymore.
They're still dealing with the curse of yes, that is the well, and the Portland Trailblazers had a chance to draft Michael Jordan and chose
Yes.
to, and yeah, have
Yeah.
never fully recovered from that choice. So yes, I can see how that can linger.
see, and the only knowledge I have of the curse is from that really bad Jimmy Fallon baseball movie.
Have not seen it.
Jimmy Fallon and Drew
I
Barrymore, but
didn't
I
know Jimmy
can't
Fallon was
remember.
in a. Not only did I not know Jimmy Fallon was in a baseball movie, I didn't know Jimmy Fallon was in a movie. I didn't know he ever did any.
He plays the romantic lead with Drew Barrymore, and
Wow.
he's an obsessive like season ticket holder. But I don't remember if it's the Mets or
That was the Red Sox.
the Red.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because on
That's another
SNL, he
way of
would play
talking
the
about
crazy, rabid Red
it.
Sox
Yeah.
fan, and then they kind of ran with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that was like
my
Babe
thought.
Ruth, possibly the greatest player of all time. Although now you have Shohei Ohtani, who is also he can pitch and extremely well at the best and hit as the best. But
Yeah.
yeah, Babe
Well,
Ruth.
it's an unusual combination. You
Yeah.
don't generally get pitchers who can hit that well.
My entire knowledge of any sport is just what I've watched in sports movies,
Yes.
which
Too
I
much
love.
sports, which I don't like them because the plot is so formulaic, which is unfair. I love fantasy, which often has a, very traditional kind of hero's journey arc. But for some reason, sports movies, I'm like, I'll bet they go through a bunch of struggles and then they're going to win it in the end. Like,
Oh, I
Not
feel
always.
similarly. I feel
There are a
similarly.
couple
Yeah.
that lose though, but they're my comfort. I will watch
yeah.
every sports movie, but I'm always hesitant to talk about anything real life sports because I don't know how much of it was just like
Yes,
So
just
for the
got
movie.
so my favorite sports movie of all time is in part because it is so satirical. It's like a Kurt Vonnegut novel. But it's also the best representation of baseball of what really goes on that I could ever say. And even though it has Charlie Sheen, which is a shame,
Wow.
No, I
is
know.
Major League.
Major
Major
League.
League.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yes.
mean, this
Yeah. No,
is
my favorite baseball movie, certainly Major League.
That
oh,
is that is not my favorite baseball movie.
What is your favorite baseball movie?
The best sports movie ever made. There's only one answer to that question.
basketball.
One correct. Listen, A League of Their Own.
Oh, League of
Oh, A League of Their Own is
Sports movie
fantastic. No,
ever
yeah,
made.
yeah,
I don't
League of
know.
Their Own is great. Absolutely
A League
great.
of Their Own.
I'm going to be careful and not disagree with you.
You don't watch sports movies,
I don't
so
watch enough sports movies to full disclosure, I used to love Hoosiers, and Hoosiers does not hold up to scrutiny. Like you go back and you go, oh, this is actually problematic. Like this is focusing on kind of the wrong people and the wrong plight. But at the time I thought, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. So I do not have the standing to critique your taste in.
I mean,
I'll stick with critiquing your taste in disaster movies because
listen. No, A League of Their Own is that has been one of my favorite movies since
Yeah.
I was a kid. But if I'm being truly honest, that's only like I feel like that has to be my default answer because I spent so long saying that. But the one that I will watch most often is We Are Marshall. That's the one that
Yeah.
hits every single emotional.
Oh, I don't know if this would count as a sports movie, but if you get a chance to see The Great Debaters, it's about a
Hmm.
debate team, and that one was more affecting than I expected. It was one of those where I went in going, okay, they're going to get involved in a competition, and boy, they're going to go through some tough times, and then they're going to win in the end.
That would count as
And
a sports
hey,
movie.
it still follows the same trajectory, right? But oh, there are some powerful moments in that one. Okay,
Oh, cool.
so we should go to our break.
The rant.
Yes, we should go to our break. But when we come back, we're going to ask you about, uh, how you are addressing this current time period. So we'll go to our break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Unrelenting, Book 1 of the Grigori Cycle, was a finalist for the Book Pipeline Award before it was even published, and it won the New Mexico-Arizona Book Award for LGBTQ fiction. Now, Jess Hennard and Marie Parks are back with Undeniable, The Grigori Cycle, Book 2. Bridget has saved her sister Dahlia from imprisonment, but their reunion has come at an enormous cost. Their friend was murdered in the rescue efforts, and Dahlia herself is no longer fully human. As the sisters race to uncover the key to resurrection, Dahlia's former captors pursue them, coveting the ancient powers and seeking justice for their own fallen companions. Multi-Hugo award-winning author Mary Robinette Kowal called Unrelenting a tapestry of emotion that effortlessly weaves together the threads of grief and obsession. Undeniable will be available everywhere on October 28th, but you can pre-order your copy now. Your favorite lesbian vampires are back, and this time there are lesbian vampire librarians as well. Benjamin Gorman's The Convention of Fiends series brings together every kind of monster you've ever heard of, and many you haven't, in a globe-trotting adventure from an Irish crypt to a Scottish castle, to a troll den under the Fox News headquarters in Manhattan, from the catacombs of Paris to a beachside villa in Costa Rica, a summer camp in Saskatchewan, to a brothel in Bangkok, a secret lair under Angkor Wat, to an annual conference at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. The hunt is on. Everyone wants the deadly book that can kill its readers. Beginning with book 1, Don't Read This Book, and continuing in book 2, You Were Warned, the trilogy comes to a fantastic conclusion in book 3, You People Are Monsters. New York Times bestseller Chelsea Kane says, I didn't know I could be turned on by a sex scene involving a dragon, but here we are. You People Are Monsters will be available everywhere on October 13th, but you can pre-order your copy now.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Tilting at Windmills. We're here with RJ Huneke and Chrys. Take it away. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. Before we get to the topic of fascism, Ben jumped a little ahead here. I'm going to go back because I'm a big fan of finding joy in the little things in the utter dumpster fire that is the United States and kind of the world in general right now. So what is the silliest or the most absurd or unusual thing you've done lately, just because it makes you happy?
So I try to do absurd and silly things all the time. And now I have to up my game because my daughter she enjoys it as well. So but something that I recently was like, oh, I have to do this. I have to try this. That was just completely absurd. I love dogs as well, and I had got my wife a Dalmatian. It was kind of a dream of hers when she graduated graduate school, and I love this puppy. Also, very much not as evolved in her digestive system or her ways, so she can be very wolf-like. I we had some chickens at one point years ago, and I literally watched a wolf pack move, and thankfully she listened to me. Otherwise, she would have had chicken for lunch. But yeah, so I just thought of her, and I was like, and she often looks kind of comical. She's a very kind of stereotypical Dalmatian look, and so I was like, all right, let me make her really serious and put her in this trench coat because I don't know why. I'm obsessed with drawing trench coats lately, but they're a lot of fun and difficult to draw. And then I started to get silly with it because I love Inspector Clouseau as played by Peter Sellers. I mean, I do love Steve Martin, but I just don't think that's a role you could fill after Peter Sellers did it. But Inspector Clouseau, I mean, sometimes I just fall into Inspector Clouseau lines and his attempts at accents, and so I get really silly with that. And then I said, well, what if this Dalmatian is a detective that's somewhat jaded and clumsy, like Inspector Clouseau, a detective Dal, if you will. So I have one of these here. Let's see.
That's
so
get
great.
That
close enough. The Zoom thing.
So, folks who are listening to the podcast, we have a
sorry about this.
Who looks. The facial expression is fantastic. Very serious. Very
Thank you. Yeah, that was
in a trench coat. Oh, that's wonderful.
I love that.
That's the only one I think that I have some others scattered about, but I think that's the only one I inked. But I have a bunch that I have to ink with. She's got a cigarette. She's she's got a hat kind of half cocked and, giving you that quizzical dog look and, at a murder scene. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I need to do this,
Finding joy. Well, that is incredibly important right now. So, as we alluded to, we are living in an era of rising fascism. And so I wanted to ask, I mean, before I even get to asking, I think what you've been doing with Ants Waking is marvelous. Is that available for pre-order now, or is that something folks can purchase?
Yeah, so it's available for pre-order, and it's on sale this month, October 28th. I wanted to celebrate Halloween, with a new book, and yeah, absolutely. It's available for pre-order now. pretty much everywhere. I mean, I recommend if you don't, go to your local bookshop if you can, but if you can't get to the bookstore, bookshop.org donates to bookstores, so you can order online and avoid the whole Amazon Bezos thing. You probably won't get the book. You probably get the book in better condition too than Amazon getting it all banged up in the box. But it's wherever books are sold. If it does well, I'm hopeful there would be an audiobook version because I'm a big proponent of audiobooks. But yeah, whatever, ebooks, wherever you get your ebooks as well. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
I want to encourage all of our listeners and viewers with a very specific strategy. So go, we will post the link to bookshop.org. Absolutely get the book, but we'll also post links to both of those organizations. And I want to
Great.
encourage
Thank
everybody
you.
who is listening, who is watching, get the book. If the if we increase the book sales, this helps those organizations by saying to other authors, "Hey, do this," but also donate $20 to one of the organizations, $20 to the other. The whole thing, all told, has cost you, $60, and you have donated to two excellent organizations, and you've then encouraged the book to to augment your donations. So if those donations sound, if those organizations sound valuable to you, and that to me, I just, they just leap out at me as organizations. I love that the autism network is led by people who have autism, and then of course the Global Alliance for Trans Rights. This is a global crisis that trans folks are facing. So if everybody would get the book and make a couple of donations, that will, those are mutually reinforcing. And in this era, those kinds of actions are really, really valuable. So I think that, I want to encourage folks, you know, invest in fighting back in this way. You're standing with artists, and you are standing with these two really valuable organizations that are doing such important work. So and I want to thank you for connecting your art to these groups. I think that is incredibly valuable right now.
Well, thank you, Benjamin, for I mean, you put it it was very well said. Yeah, it's these this helps one another. I'm a believer in uh art is an enormously important thing. It is a vital part of society. It is not a uh this is not an ancillary thing or an extra thing. Art is essential. Art is essential to growth, to learning, to empathizing.
Yeah.
Art makes the world a better place. And when you can tie art
Mhm.
to things in this way, I would love to see every best-selling author that's out there just pick any cause that's near and dear to their heart, and just donate $1 from each book. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, not every. I don't want J.K. Rowling giving
oh yeah, oh
her
yeah,
money
no,
to
no.
anybody that is, doing the inverse because she's awful. But yes,
I think she's already doing that. It's
yes.
uh, what
Well, and,
a
and I think that that's something that, we should take into account too. There are huge moneyed interests that are investing heavily in harm.
Hmm.
And so, putting, your resources into making the world better is only a counterbalance. Like,
Yeah.
but
and it makes a world of
giving
difference.
money too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sending a
Yeah.
message that you care, and that then leads these big moneyed interests to say, oh, people care. Maybe we should, maybe if we're only motivated by profit, but we recognize people care, then the money follows the people. And so
Yep, yep.
invest in something like Ants Waking, and you send the message. This is something that readers out there are concerned about. So I want to encourage everybody to send a signal by
Yeah.
purchasing the book as well.
Well, and it's deeper than that too. Every time you post on social media about
Right.
it or you talk about it around other people, you're signaling to people who have trans or neurodivergent family members,
Yeah.
trans or neurodivergent people in general that are around you. They hear so much harm and bad in the media. Every little bit of additional support is just kind of hoping to work like a little bit to drown that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it brings to mind. I mean, we haven't come from the U.S. I've been mourning democracy in the U.S. But I was thinking about this a little bit today, and now what you said it's resonating with me. In 2019, okay, we almost had Bernie Sanders elected as the Democratic primary. Now, even forgetting, putting the politics aside. I have a Portuguese friend here. He loves American history. He loves American politics because he's always been enamored with the culture and the art. So he's always followed it. And he was like, Bernie Sanders would be a moderate here, like that's the reality, And I was like, yeah, that's part of why I'm here. Um, but what happened is that we saw with $5 donations to his campaign and no super PACs, meaning no corporate backed money or billionaires, he was able to compete on the national stage. And why were people making, why were whatever it was, 50, 100 million people, however many they were, why were they making those donations? He was asking questions for things that the population have grown to change, to what I would argue progress, the root of progressivism. So the reason I say that, I'm going to get to the point. So when you look there, the big disparity in wealth began, I would argue, with Nixon, but Reagan was the one that really burst the door wide open.
Yeah.
But from that point on, the political leaders became wealthier and wealthier. I mean, I'm talking about most of the members of Congress. There are still some upstanding members of the U.S. Congress, like AOC, who's shouting at people for having stocks. She's like, you're influencing the stocks. You shouldn't be allowed to have stocks. Now, she's probably the only one without stocks, but there are a few, but for the most part, they are wealthy people. Their views have gotten more conservative on both sides of that two-party system over the years. Yeah. But because of culture, art, and good old-fashioned people traveling, immigrants, people themselves have brought in more and more diverse thinking, more and more different types of cultures, different types of thinking, different types of learning. So while I would argue the government went backwards, but like I said, I want to for this point, I don't want to go too political, but while I would argue that went backwards, the people said, well, yeah, I mean, human healthcare for everyone is that's a human right, isn't it? Why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't we want rights for LGBTQ plus? Like everyone just has equal right. Like why don't we have that now? We're supposed to be this democracy for all. Bernie Sanders tapped into that. Others have since, but he showed on the national stage that with $5 donations, and I was I could only make at the time a couple of $5 donations, or $20, small donations, but it worked. And he competed because it's not just the wealthy in the government, unfortunately. The wealthy in the government have allowed what happened about 130, 40 years ago with the robber barons of old, the Rockefellers. They get to run a lot of the show. They have no regulation. They monopolize everything. And that is in the hands of a handful of people. A handful of people. Now, it also happens that in recent years, especially, either it was always this way and we didn't know it, or we're getting a new wave. We're more likely it's a combination. But there are a lot of hateful, racist-filled billionaires out there.
Yeah.
They do not speak for us. They do not, but they work to influence the policy. When you have something like the Jimmy Kimmel Show taken off air by the FCC, that's censorship because they didn't like his use of free speech. But Disney lost a few $1 billion in just a few days from all of us canceling our $10 or $20 subscriptions. That is the power, as you both said. you can hit him where it hurts with the money. You know, J.K. Rowling is a billionaire. She is abhorrent.
Yeah.
It's to think it shouldn't blow my mind because you know you can separate art from artists and whatnot, but my goodness, she has I don't get it. I don't understand her war with trans people, but she has single-handedly dumped so many millions of dollars and just outwardly says, "Hey, watch my stuff, buy my stuff. I'm going to put this money into buying judges and court cases," and she's winning in the UK. She's winning.
Yep.
But she is one person. She is one person. She has a lot of money, but she is one person. And anyone that can make, you know, if you can donate $1 to Gate, it is $1 that will add up to everyone else's dollars. And there are far more of us than there are of her. Yeah. So that was,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And Chris's point is well taken too. When I say 60
Yes.
bucks, I need to recognize $60 is a lot of money for a lot of folks. If you are currently listening to the show, if you are currently watching the show, you have an internet connection. And that means you can post about it for free.
Yeah.
And that matters too.
Absolutely.
Everybody
You know?
that's on there, everybody that's on there is going to see your
Yeah.
support, and it just, you know, I have family members that are Trumpers, and it
Yeah,
infuriates
same.
me seeing them post something that's just wildly inaccurate. You know, my brother did the whole well, I don't want boys in the bathroom with my daughter. And man, if you wanna piss off a right winger who uses that argument, just tell them statistically speaking, a woman is most likely to be sexually assaulted by a Republican member of Congress than they are by a trans person in a woman's bathroom.
That's true. That's
Um,
right.
those are like literally the facts.
Yeah.
But
And I think the majority of crimes that have happened in a bathroom involving trans
Republican
people have
members,
been done to trans people, not the
yeah,
other way
Oh
around.
my
yeah,
So,
gosh, yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Trans people face a lot more harm. Plus, this whole notion, like, it just is built on this level of ignorance. I've got a trans friend who's like, he's a, you know, he's a big dude. He's got a big beard. Like, the only people who would think, hey, let's force him into a women's bathroom that will create safety for anyone, don't know trans people.
Well,
Like,
and
there's no way, if you know, seeing him, you would not go, we should force him into a woman's bathroom. Like, that would just boggle anyone's mind. Dude,
there was a
is
great
that
SNL
he
bit.
is, in
Uh,
fact, he's more masculine than I am. He absolutely should be in the men's room, right?
there was a great SNL bit with Pete Davidson. Unfortunately, well, I don't want to elaborate on Pete Davidson now, but
yeah,
he had the most succinct, you know, yeah, he's just done something really disgusting.
yeah.
But
I'm disappointed and disheartened with some of the comedians that made that announcement.
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Especially after seeing comedians come forward. Here's the contract. Here's the type of censorship. Here's the human rights violations you're
yeah.
uh, supporting. Yeah. But he put it so well. He was like,
You're surprised because you expect better.
Right.
yes, yes. I mean,
Why? I don't know why I continue to expect better. I don't know why I continue to allow things like that to surprise me.
I guess greed is some of it. I don't understand greed. Do you really need the extra pair of sneakers or the
No.
extra yacht? You have one or three, but you need another. Like, I don't.
I was thinking about this when you were talking about the members of Congress. I think what happens is, you know, I'm a firm believer that nobody believes they are a villain, right? Nobody is sitting around twirling their mustache and saying, wah ha ha ha, right?
Mm,
I don't think anybody consciously everybody's the hero in their own story, right? Even the people who are doing the worst stuff are saying, I'm doing this because I am
yeah.
oppressed in some way,
Yeah.
right? And I think what happens with folks like these, you know, members of Congress is it's who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And so if, you know, these comedians are all surrounded by, especially the whole generation of kind of older white comedians are sitting around and everybody else is saying it's too bad we can't use the R word anymore, then they start to go, that is normal. And I think we see
Yeah.
this a
Yeah.
lot in, kind of conservative politics. If you are watching Fox News all day, you're going, this is what everybody thinks. I'm not doing anything that's too outside the pale. And if, you're J.K. Rowling is saying, I get a lot of feedback, I get attacked online. Therefore, I, as a billionaire, am the big victim,
Yeah.
and surrounds herself with people who are saying, you're right, J.K., you're the big victim. They don't think of it in terms of I need to do this because I'll make more money, inherently. Like I'm sure that's a factor, but I think a lot of it is what I'm doing is acceptable to my friends. And it's yeah, you
Yeah.
pick bad
Th
friends.
that is, well, that no, that's very true. I mean, I have severed ties with people that were very, very close to me for that very reason. And that's part of, like I was speaking to you could, if you polled the US, 60, 70, 80% of the population wants universal health care and a dozen other issues too that are being legislated against their wants, right?
Yeah.
Well, the cultural change things like, well, we shouldn't use the R word because it will hurt someone's feelings.
Right.
Let's just be kind. Let's just be kind. Um, so there were lots of things, homophobic slurs were more commonplace. Um, when I grew up and where I grew up, it was just toxic masculinity everywhere.
Yeah.
I think back to my shy 20-year-old, not yet diagnosed autistic self. I would have been terrified to say the word trans just because of what someone else might think.
Right.
Um,
Oh, I
it's, but this is where the importance of what you guys are doing here, of what you know anyone that's making art and entertainment, like this is how we fill and enrich our lives, and it needs to be known that those negative sentiments, this is not the thought of the masses, and you do not have to have that in your life. And when that is out, what becomes more common, more easily seen and recognized are kinder things. It's um yeah, no, sorry, I rambled a little
No,
bit.
I completely agree. And in that vein, as folks are kind of going into their week, as they are, listening to the show, watching the show, and they're saying, okay, well, what would be your biggest takeaway? What's your advice for everybody as they enter into their week after everything we've talked about?
Well, so the one thing that um some powers that be are inflicting upon us are this. We're constantly fed slop. Cory Doctorow has a term, the enshittification of the internet. You know, it's essentially propaganda.
Yeah.
And the way propaganda works best is in mass and repetition over and over and over and over. So I would say, if you're going to take anything away from it, for one thing, on the positive side, make art. If you can volunteer to help somewhere, anywhere, do it, even if it's just to help a neighbor put their garbage out. It makes a world of difference. If you're seeing things that are wrong, make noise about it and be loud. Be loud. We have to fight with that noise that's drowning us out. And as we are fed that, we have to be proactive, and we need to find the art and the history, the culture, um, especially from communities we're not familiar with. Go out and find things that are out of your comfort zone, because you're probably not seeing them on the Instagram story feed, but you may find something that changes your life. We spoke about some authors earlier that it was like, you read this author and I have to read everything they do. It's find that art. It is so much more interesting and so much more fun to explore and to do that. Go out there and find some things that are not being pushed by the masses. It really I think it could do you a lot of good, and it makes me very happy as well, when I do that. So I think it brings some happiness as well.